Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers. I'm Nicolette Hodge, and this is We Reflect the Light. Welcome. This is part 2 of America's economic collapse. In this segment, we will highlight the famine that is coming here to America as a result of her economic collapse. However, first, we're going to start off identifying who we are, sisters and brothers. We're going to identify our history and our vision, which is the Abrahamic covenant. Then we'll move into the war in the Middle East and speak about the participants and the outcome. And then we'll highlight the famine. All right, sisters and brothers, what is our history? Our history here in America is a 400 plus year history of horror. The Holocaust is the name of our experience, not slavery. Slavery is just 1% of our experience. The affliction that we endured is the other 99%. Therefore, the Holocaust is the correct term, in which we were relentlessly raped and forced to give birth to Massa's devil seed. Massa forced us to produce a nation of devils and black skin, demons, half devil, half man. They look like us, however, they have the bloodline of their devil fathers. They are the house Negroes. So our experience was not just slavery, because slavery doesn't include being raped. As these devils tried to commit genocide on the true seed of Abraham. They beat us. They tortured us. They dismembered us. They cut our wombs open and used us as medical experiments, no anesthesia. We weren't in sanitary conditions. We weren't, the movies that they show you about slavery is a deception. We did not have homes. We didn't have our families together. We were not allowed to get married. We were not allowed to procreate with our original man and multiply our seed. We had to sneak and multiply so that we could be here today, sisters and brothers. So that's a sacrifice that the warrior queens have made to ensure that Abraham's seed stayed alive, to ensure that the Messiah was born, which the Messiah, Joshua the Messiah, is the true seed of Abraham. And these devils' agenda, their mission, was to ensure that the Messiah was never born. That's why they were raping us relentlessly. So the original black woman doing what we do as warrior queens, standing up for our nation in a time of need. We ensured that we kept multiplying, kept reproducing against all odds, while in the face of danger. If Massa found out that we were, or even suspected that we were carrying an original black baby in our bellies, they would torture us, stomp our babies out of our bellies. Or when we gave birth to our original babies, they would use them as alligator bait. So understand what we endured was horror from start to finish. They call our experience critical race theory. There's nothing theoretical about the Holocaust. This is documented facts. This is a sure thing. This is a sure experience that happened to us. A definite. And you'll see that here in the scriptures in a moment. Our men were humiliated, sodomized. They force-fed us human and animal shit. That's not slavery, sisters and brothers. Then put muzzles over our mouths so we couldn't spit it out. They had slave collars around our neck, these big old instruments that these metal pieces go out several feet, very heavy metal collars, so that we couldn't escape. If we tried to run through the forest, get away from the plantation, that metal would hit a tree and break our necks. They hunted us down with their dogs. They hung us. And took pictures of us and sent out postcards to their family members. Just as today there's a postcard of a beach resort, vacation homes. Well, the Holocaust was put on postcards. Postcards of us hanging from trees. Flesh getting picked off of our bones by birds, vultures. And that was a source of entertainment for them. They would have picnics. Picnics where they would pick one of us, pick a nigger, and hang us, torture us, as they sit around and eat their biscuits and tea and enjoy the sightings of the horror that they inflicted on us. So they don't tell the truth about what they did to us because they don't want you to remember. They don't want you to remember what it is that we endured, sisters and brothers. However, that's why we're here, to jog your memory, to remind you. Because once you identify our history, then you're looking at what's the reward for this. And scriptures tells us to give them back double. You know, we went through this experience. We were told to submit to these devils. That's exactly what we did, 100%. And all that pressure they put us under, they could not kill us. They didn't kill us. What doesn't kill you make you stronger. They were force feeding us shitlings. Our babies kept and still are coming through the womb, stronger and stronger and stronger. So this extreme pressure that we have been under has produced us into diamonds. However, now it's time for them to let us go. They refuse to let us go. They do not want us to leave the country. They're trying to deal with us shrewdly. They tried to prevent our multiplication. And let's get into that a little bit more. Even after so-called chattel slavery was over, because the Holocaust lasted from 1619 to 2019. So even once we broke our chains and we left the plantation, they still put us through horror. They sterilized us, gave our men all kind of STDs. Look up the Tuskegee experiment. They put birth control on us. And who was the main ones pushing it on us? The church. Understand that the ministers and preachers, deacons within the church are the house Negroes. They are demons. They're not going to tell you about your history, sisters and brothers. They will not identify the Holocaust. And the church is one of the biggest advocates of birth control, in which they are pushing masses' agenda to control our birth rates. So that's another way in which they tried to prevent us from multiplying. They threw a large population of our men into the prisons. Can't multiply, can't reproduce in prison. So, the Holocaust, boiling us alive. Does that look like this? Is that slavery, sisters and brothers? Slavery is working someone without paying them. It's an economic system of capitalism, maximum profit, minimum overhead. This picture does not represent or define slavery. This picture defines something else. So that's two different things. They use slavery to downplay our experience. They use the word slavery to hide behind the Holocaust, the affliction that they put on us. So let's keep moving. All right. Here we have the book of Genesis. Let me make sure that this word, the contrast is coming through clear. One moment. All right, sisters and brothers, the book of Genesis, chapter 15, verse 12 through 17, identifies our history. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram. And lo, a horror, that's the Holocaust, sisters and brothers, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. So our father Abram had a vision of horror. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety, sisters and brothers. That means this is a sure, definite. This is not no theory. This ain't no might be. This is not a maybe. This is a definite. This is recorded facts, sisters and brothers. As I just showed you the pictures, the graphics of what they did to us. Know of a surety that thy seed shall be sojourners. Sojourners, that means on a temporary stay. In a land that is not theirs. What land are we sojourning in, sisters and brothers? That's not ours. America. America is not our land. We are temporarily here in America. It shares and shall serve them. That's the enslavement portion. We serve these devils. And what did they do to us? And they shall afflict them. That's the 99% of our experience. That's the affliction. For how long? For 400 years. That 400 years lasted from 1619 to 2019. And also that nation whom they shall serve. What nation did we serve? The Caucasian nation. America. Britain. False Israel. The Jews financed the transatlantic slave trade. America came out of Britain. They're one nation. So these devils want to say, oh, I didn't do that. You know, we didn't. These devils, they come up with all different kind of excuses to get around the true history of the original black man and woman. They say, oh, well, I didn't do that. That happened hundreds and hundreds of years ago. That was my great, 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 great grandfather. It shares that nation, not that individual. And furthermore, these devils are reaping the benefits today, to this very day, of the Holocaust that they inflicted on us. And not only these devils, every nation has benefited off of the Holocaust. So it shares, also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And afterward shall they come out, sisters and brothers, that means we're leaving. Come out with great substance, that means great wealth. But thou shalt go where? Go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. And in the fourth generation, we are in the fourth generation right now, sisters and brothers. In the fourth generation, they shall come hither. Hither means here. They shall come hither again. They shall come here again. Come where? To the same place our father Abram was at when he had this vision of horror. When he had this vision of what his seed would endure. For the iniquity of the Amorite is not yet full. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a flaming torch that passed between these pieces. This is our history, sisters and brothers. Why don't they teach this in the schools? Why don't they teach this on Black History Month? Why is the Holocaust not the focus? That right there lets you know that they're lying to us. They're trying to deceive us. Let's keep moving, sisters and brothers. What's the reward for enduring the Holocaust? Excuse me. One moment, sisters and brothers. In that day, God made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. All right, sisters and brothers, this is our vision, the Abrahamic covenant. In that day, God made a covenant. This is more than a promise, sisters and brothers. This is God's sure and volatile word, and word is bond, sisters and brothers. Unto thy seed, Abram's seed, have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. When you look on a map, sisters and brothers, those two rivers are not in America. Why aren't these so-called black leaders telling you about your vision, your inheritance, your birthright, your reward for enduring 400 years of enslavement and affliction? Why aren't they identifying the reward, the payment for the work that we have done? Because they benefit off of us being here. They're leeching off of us. Louis Farrakhan will not speak the Abrahamic covenant. He says that we ain't going nowhere, when the scriptures clearly says that we are leaving America. Several times, we're coming out with great substance. We're coming here to the same land our father Abram was at when he had the vision of war. We're coming here again, and we're hithering. Why is it that Farrakhan will not speak the Abrahamic covenant? Well, that gets into Farrakhan's biological history. He's not the true seed of Abraham. He despises the Abrahamic covenant. The preachers within the church, they're not the true seed of Abraham. They're house Negroes. Majority of them. Make that clear. So they will not, as a matter of fact, they're told not to speak the Abrahamic covenant. They have certain parts, they have only certain parts of the Bible they're allowed to speak on. The Abrahamic covenant is not part of that approved sermon, because you are not, according to them, you're not to have a vision. You are not to be looking forward and empowered by your inheritance. How do you understand how powerful a vision is, sisters and brothers? One common vision for us to unite under. The Abrahamic covenant gives us direction, tells us exactly where we're going. They can't have that. So they tell us to just keep pushing, trying to achieve the American dream, which is impossible. The American dream is totally against our nature. And listen to the word, American dream. It's an illusion. It's not real, sisters and brothers. Just like when we were in the fields, the house Negroes told us just work harder, pick more cotton. Be a good field Negro. And one day we'll be in a big house like them. We were never getting into the big house because we're not master's children. That's the only reason why they are in the big house. However, they kept selling that dream to us. And once we did all the things they told us to do, pick more cotton, work harder, we were punished for it. We were picking 100 pounds of cotton. We did more, 200 pounds. Then that became the requirement. We didn't get into the house. That was just a deception, a trick. And today the house Negroes, they are in positions of power. They're still in the big house. And they're over us as role models and overseers, just like when we were in the fields. And they're the ones on the TV, these big old mansions, telling us that if we just keep working hard and, these social media influencers, entertainers, actors, they tell us just keep working hard. If I can do it, you can do it too. No, that's not true, sisters and brothers. This reality is tethered to their devil nature. They just have a black skin tone on. So they're going to be successful in this reality because it's tethered, again, to their nature. However, it's totally against us. So that's why it's important to understand our history, our vision, understand the direction that we're going in, to put everything else that's going on around us into perspective, understand why it is that we're in danger, understand why it is that these devils have a target on our back. They know we're the true seed of Abraham. So, sisters and brothers, where's our land at? Between the river of Egypt and the great river, the river Euphrates, our land is Arabia. Arabia is our promised land. Arabia is our destination, our heavenly home, the best part of the planet Earth, which we have preserved for ourselves. So, sisters and brothers, they're telling us to stay here in America. Why would we want to stay here in this blood-soaked land? They're telling us to get reparations in 6 states. Louis Farrakhan is telling us to get reparations. There's no amount of money that can be put on the rape of our women, period. And if we accept another payment outside of the Abrahamic covenant, then that totally nullifies, cancels out the Abrahamic covenant. So they're trying to get us to sell out of our birthright. However, that weapon formed against us will not prosper. No weapon formed against us will prosper. And that deception, lies, tricks, is a weapon that they're using against us. Louis Farrakhan, a demon, the chief demon, a devil in black skin. He's a weapon that they're using against us because he looks like us. However, he is a devil. And that's why he's saying we ain't going nowhere. He's saying he loves America. That's fine for him to love America. But that's not our vision. So the problem is that he's pretending to represent us. And that's a deception. Because some of our brothers and sisters don't know any better. Let me put it like that. Not aware of demons. Not aware of the Abrahamic covenant. So that's why we're here, to give you that proper information, sisters and brothers, so that you can make the proper decision, which you will. You just need the right information. Arabia is our promised land. This is our home, sisters and brothers. It shares that in the 4th generation, we will return here to Arabia again. So we're in that 4th generation now, and we are in the process of fulfilling the Abrahamic covenant, sisters and brothers. So let's keep moving. Now we get to the war in heaven. I just identified our heavenly home is Arabia. So now there's no coincidence that there's a war going on in heaven right now. What's heaven? Heaven is the Middle East, sisters and brothers. This reality teaches us illusions, deceptions. They tell us that heaven is somewhere in the sky, hell is somewhere in the ground. Demons and devils is something invisible. All of these things are physical, sisters and brothers. They're trying to keep us out of touch with reality. So they make all of these things unseen so that you cannot identify anything around you. They don't want us identifying our enemies. The devils are our open enemies. The demons are our hidden enemies. We also have blood enemies, our own brothers who have turned against us. They don't want us identifying any of that. They don't want us identifying where our home is. They tell us that we have to die to get to heaven. Heaven is the Middle East, sisters and brothers. We're in the hells of North America right now. So understand that all of these things are physical and occurred war in the heaven. The Michael and the angels of him of the two war with the dragon, and the dragon warred and the angels of it. So that's two different groups fighting against each other. Michael and his angels versus the dragon and his angels. Now we get into the outcome. And not it proved strong, not but place was found of them yet in the heaven. And was thrown the dragon the great, the serpent the archaic, the being called devil and the Satan, the making to err the being inhabited whole. He was thrown into the earth, and the angels of him with him were thrown. So here the outcome is that the dragon and his angels are defeated. The dragon and his angels are thrown out of heaven. Let's keep moving, sisters and brothers. Let's identify who Michael and his angels are and who the dragon and his angels are. We have the location, which is the Middle East. We have the participants, these two groups that are fighting against each other, Michael and his angels versus the dragon and his angels, and we have the outcome. The dragon and his angels are defeated, will be defeated, and Michael and his angels will be victorious. So let's identify these participants. Michael and his angels. Michael is the god Master Farad Muhammad. His angels are Iran and Syria. Iran and Syria and our God Master Farad Muhammad is our blood brothers, our paternal brothers. They have white skin, however, they have original blood running through their veins. They're fighting on our behalf, sisters and brothers. Faithful and true, loyal. So, their victory is an example, or that's part of the victory of the entire original nation. Because they're part of the original nation. They're part of us, sisters and brothers. We're one body. Let's keep moving. The dragon and his angels. The dragon is the house of Sod. The house of Sod is sitting on our land, pretending that it's theirs. They named our land Saudi Arabia. They're controlling our oil. The dragon is the house of Sod. The dragon fuels his angels. His angels are America, Britain, and false Israel. So, the dragon and his angels will be defeated. How's that going to affect America? Now let's talk about false Israel for a moment. False Israel claims they are the true seed of Abraham. They claim that they are God's chosen people. However, they do not fit the description of what Abram's seed would endure. They did not endure the Holocaust. They claim the Abrahamic covenant has been fulfilled. However, they are not in the land that has been given to Abram's seed, which is Arabia. They're sitting in Jerusalem. So it's clear that false Israel is not who they claim to be. In fact, the book of Revelations identifies that false Israel is the synagogue of Satan. Scriptures tells us that Satan is the god of this world. It's no coincidence that the Jews are the ones who run the entertainment industry. They run the media. They run the news outlets. They run the educational system. There's a Jew in black skin over the Nation of Islam, Louis Farrakhan. He's sitting in Elijah Muhammad's seat, pretending that he's the Messiah. So, false Israel, Satan, is the god of this world, and they are blocking our vision. They have their foot on our backs. They have stolen our identity while presenting us to the world, or while distorting our image to the whole world. So they're in blackface. Al Jolson they used to have these Jews with blackface. Al Jolson would put tar, black ink on his skin and degrade, make fun of our experience, make fun of the affliction that they put us through. Now they have their black-skinned children to do it. Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, all these black-skinned devils, all of these entertainers making us look like pimps, whores, clowns to the whole world, making us a laughingstock. Louis Farrakhan up there, black-skinned devil, has turned the Nation of Islam into a laughingstock. No one takes us serious. They have distorted our image. Has our women, or it has this image of the black woman naked. That's not our nature. However, because most of our sisters and brothers don't know any better, you're looking at these things on TV and media, and you are copying off of what you see on TV. Not realizing that this is part of their plan, their deception, to keep us from identifying who we are. And false Israel is the one that's controlling all of that. False Israel was established over in the Holy Land, Jerusalem, in 1948 to counter Elijah Muhammad's claim that the original black men and women right here in North America are the true seed of Abraham. He showed the proof. So America and Britain established false Israel in Jerusalem, in a land that does not belong to them. So false Israel is over there in Jerusalem, pretending to be someone that they are not, while in a land that does not belong to them. They are an abomination, and they're causing destruction on the inhabitants of that land, the Palestinians, the ones living there, bombing women and children, bombing medics, ambulances, doctors, bombing hospitals, bombing schools, starving the Palestinians to death, telling them to come out and get aid so that they can shoot them down like a video game. And they laugh, and they're enjoying it. And America is loading up the gun. America and Britain supply false Israel with weapons, military power, resources, and money. So America is loading up these guns and giving it to false Israel. And false Israel is blasting the Palestinians down, blasting their brains out. America and Britain taught false Israel how to do it. America and Britain and false Israel, remember the Jews financed the transatlantic slave trade. America and Britain produced false Israel. So false Israel is just doing what they learned from mommy and daddy. How can America speak against it? America is backing false Israel 100%. And here, as you see on this graphic, and we just identified in the scriptures, they are aligned with each other. So they're on the same page. They got the same agenda. And that's to destroy the original black men and women. So, false Israel, scriptures tells us when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, know that her desolation is near. So false Israel will be destroyed. That's a definite. It's not a maybe, it's not a might be. It's a definite. False Israel will be destroyed. How can they be the true seed of Abraham and they're about to be destroyed, sisters and brothers? The true seed of Abraham will not be destroyed. They tried to destroy us. The sisters prevented it. So that lets you know right there. We will not be destroyed. They tried to destroy us. They couldn't do it. Excuse me for a minute. So, sisters and brothers, when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, know that her desolation, her destruction is near. False Israel will be destroyed during this war in the Middle East. The House of Saud, America, Britain will be thrown out the Middle East first. And let's get into that. Thrown out. That's not a retreat. That's not a peace deal. This war will result in the dragon and his angels being thrown out of the Middle East. So what they're saying on the news, peace talks and, trying to end the war, this is how the war is going to end. So if this ain't happened, the dragon and his angels getting thrown out the Middle East, false Israel destroyed, that means the war ain't over. All things written will be fulfilled. All things written in the unsealed Bible will be fulfilled, sisters and brothers. So this is the prophecy. So if the dragon and his angels haven't been thrown out the Middle East, then that means the war ain't over, because that's the outcome of the war. So do not be deceived by the news. Don't be deceived by anyone. Anything outside of this definite is just noise, sisters and brothers. This is the true news. This is the future news, telling us what we are to expect any day now, any moment. So they're trying to tempt us. Understand, they're going to they're trying to deal with us shrewdly. So they're going to say things that sound real good. They're going to tempt us in all different kind of ways, sisters and brothers. However, we know the definite. We know the outcome. We know what's going to happen for sure. So we focus on the prophecy. False Israel is about to be destroyed. They can't let false Israel be destroyed, sisters and brothers, because false Israel is claiming to be us. And if false Israel gets destroyed, then that proves that they're liars and that we are, in fact, the true seed of Abraham. They can't let that happen. Remember, America and Britain put false Israel over there to counter the narrative that Elijah Muhammad, the claim that we are the true seed of Abraham. So they did that to block the truth. So once false Israel is destroyed, that block is over. That force that's holding us down is destroyed. And then we spring right up, and our vision comes through full force, full throttle, magnified. And remember, they're trying to deal with this shrewdly. They don't want us to leave the country. So that means that we are in great danger, because they will try to kill all blacks. They will make an attack on all blacks to totally wipe Abraham's seed out of existence. Because their entire reality is based on the lie that false Israel is God's chosen people. So once false Israel goes down, their entire reality comes crashing down. So let's keep moving, sisters and brothers. We identified that the House of Saud, they're controlling our oil. The dragon fuels its angels. The House of Saud, America, and Britain will be thrown out of the Middle East first. America is totally dependent upon oil for its economy. So without any oil, because once Iran, Syria, who's being backed by our God, Master Farad Muhammad, win this war, Iran is going to turn off that oil supply altogether. No more oil from the Middle East, period. And that's going to cause an immediate economic collapse. America's lights will be turned off permanently. No more fuel, no more gas, no more electricity, no more clean water, no more food. Total economic collapse. Money will not matter. Your life as you know it today will change, sisters and brothers. Right now you feel good. And you're pacified. These devils have a pacifier in our mouths, keeping you comfortable and quiet. So they got the entertainment at an all-time high. This FIFA or FIFA World Cup, all this sports and entertainment, while an entire war is going on, a war that's about us. They got us distracted with parties, entertainment, alcohol, drugs. All of these things to distract you from what's really going on, sisters and brothers. However, they're already telling you, not to the full extent. However, information is out there that identifies that America, and we witness it ourselves, that America is under economic strain. Gas prices are going up, food prices are going up due to the Strait of Hormuz blockage. America didn't plant their crops like they were supposed to in the spring season. Because not only do they depend on oil from the Middle East, they also depend on natural resources so that they can prepare their soil to be able to plant. Because America is barren. This is a barren land. We don't have any topsoil. So let's get into some news clips that speak about this famine. Because famine is a result of America's economic collapse. No more food, sisters and brothers. A famine, also a total famine of all resources needed to run the economy. And again, this entire economic system depends on oil to function. And without oil, it all comes to a screeching halt. Oil is the lifeblood of this economy. And once the heart stops pumping, the entire economy dies. So let's keep moving.
Fertilizer shortages are becoming a key factor for farmers. Analysts say it's already shifting expectations for the year ahead. Rabobank projects U.S. farmers will plant nearly 96 million acres of corn and more than 83 million acres of soybeans this spring, largely unaffected by rising input costs. But in other parts of the world, disruptions from the Middle East could hit hardest. Brazil, India, and Australia could limit crop expansion and reduce yields. Analysts say those pressures are most likely to affect farmers with less access to credit, raising concerns for global food production and long-term supply.
Due to the ongoing U.S.-Israel and Iran conflict, you must prepare for a severe food shortage. Most people think only oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz, but that is simply not true. This narrow waterway is also an important route for global fertilizer. Reportedly, around 50% of the world's traded urea fertilizer moves directly through the Strait of Hormuz. If this military standoff continues, a global food crisis is inevitable. Urea plays a critical role in food production, and the biggest producers are located around the Persian Gulf, including Iran, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. Large shipments from these nations pass through this route daily. If the strait remains disrupted, we face a massive fertilizer crisis. When supply drops, global agriculture is heavily affected. Dependent countries like Pakistan, India, Brazil, and African nations will face major problems. If this route stays blocked, the impact goes beyond energy markets, triggering higher food prices, lower crop production, and severe shortages. Tell me below what will happen next.
All right, let's keep moving.
Farmers across America are not planting. The fertilizer price wave hasn't even hit yet. When farmers stop, every grocery store in America empties, and the damage won't stop until every household feels it. I want to go through a real story that's not really being talked about on mainstream media and how you can actually prepare for it right now. You see, planting never happened. Not the way it was supposed to this year. American farmers are stuck between a rock and a hard place. Input costs that doubled and crop prices that didn't even move. There's no profit for a lot of farmers right now. You see, if you plant, you lose money. If you don't plant, you lose the land if you don't own it. And the USDA just confirmed it, the lowest wheat acreage in over 107 years of recorded data. This is already bad from the Iran fertilizer crisis. But it's actually getting worse. And if you feel it, if you don't feel it now, you're going to feel it really soon. So let me break a little bit of this down. Tommy Salisbury Farms in Oklahoma. He leads the Farm Bureau's Young Farmers and Ranchers program. He said it on record. He said, "We are paying input prices of 2026, but we're getting crop prices of the 1970s and the 1980s." Lorenda Overman Farms in North Carolina, her fertilizer and nitrogen costs have jumped massively this season, about 56%. that means it's 56% more expensive to grow her crops. The price that she'll get for what she harvests hasn't moved. These aren't economics or economists, reading charts. These are people standing in fields like this, looking at the soil, looking at the costs and saying, this doesn't add up. Planting crops that they know will actually lose money because the alternative is not planting at all and possibly losing their land if they can't keep making the payments or the rent payments, right? On March 31st, the USDA confirmed what farmers actually already knew. The prospective plantings report, based on surveys of nearly 74,000 farm operators, showed that all wheat planted in the country was about 43.8 million acres. This is the lowest level since records began in 1919. Again, 107 years of American agriculture. The country just recorded its lowest wheat planting in the entire history of the data. And if you're a farmer, I would love it if you'd put down in the comments below what you're experiencing right now so that I can learn more about what's going on. You see, people don't realize that this report was captured way before the worst of the fertilizer spike hit because the survey was taken in the first 2 weeks of March 2026. The number that you're looking at is actually the optimistic version. The June update is where we're going to see the real damage from what happened in Iran and the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. You see, two items are at the front of this cascade, and I'm going to get to them. First, you need to understand why the planting data is worse than what the report shows, all right? Who's telling you that it's fine when it isn't, and what the farmers themselves are doing right now. That tells you exactly where prices are heading, okay? So Josh Linville, the VP of Fertilizer at StoneX Group, posted the 6-week damage report from the Hormuz closure on April 10th. He said urea is up 49%. Liquid nitrogen is up 38%. I always pronounce it wrong. Andriasis ammonia is up 32%, and GAP is up 21%. Those are the four inputs, the fertilizer inputs, that determine whether a crop grows to full yield or comes in thin, like what you're seeing in this photo. Every one of them spiked after this survey was actually taken. The USDA's own break-even math tells you those numbers do a farmer's decision for them, right? When corn costs $5 a bushel to grow in 2026, between the seeds, fertilizer, the fuel, the land, the labor, right? But it only sells for $4.20 a bushel, that doesn't make sense. When soybeans cost $127 to produce and they'll sell for, or a lot less to produce, was like, I don't remember the per acre, but they sell for a lot more. The government is pushing data showing American farmers are growing food below the cost of production. So what do? They dive into things like soybeans, right? The American Farm Bureau Federation surveyed farmers directly. 70% of them said they can't afford enough fertilizer this season. And again, look down below into the comments and see what the farmers are saying. It also showed that 19% of Southern farmers actually pre-ordered ahead of the spike when it comes to their fertilizer, right? 78% of them say they can't afford what they need, and 48% of Midwest farmers are in the exact same position. So what are they doing? Well, they're cutting wheat, the most nitrogen-hungry grain, because the nitrogen costs are prohibitive, and they're switching to soybeans. They're cheaper to grow, lower fertilizer demand, and soybean acres are actually up 4%, but the more soybean acres doesn't mean more food on the shelf. An AFDF economist, Faith Pum, said this: when producers cannot afford full fertilizer application rates, they may reduce nutrient use or shift acreage decisions, both of which of these increase the risk of lower yields. They're planting more soybeans because it's cheaper, not because the market needs them. And the soybeans are getting planted and receiving even thinner fertilizer. So you get more acres, right? Less nutrition per acre and higher risk of a thin harvest on the wheat and corn that goes into the ground. So nitrogen is spread thinner, weaker plants, lower per acre yield, and more vulnerability to drought and pests. See, 57% of winter wheat acres are already under drought conditions, which is up from 37% at the same time last year. Three pressures are now compounding on the same crop at the exact same time, and the relief isn't coming fast enough. Now, Linville.
All right, sisters and brothers. So these last three clips are identifying that food shortage is already in process. And a food shortage leads to no food at all. So this famine is already in the works. It's already in process because they did not plant the food that's needed for America's economy. And it won't fully be realized how bad the situation is until it's time to harvest. And there's nowhere near enough food planted that's needed to sustain America's economy. So in that, they have to use, we're not the only ones who eat that food, also the animals. The cows and the chickens and the lambs, they eat that food as well. So that means it's be a shortage of meat, right? So don't just think, oh, it's just going to be a corn shortage. No, it's going to be a shortage of food all across the board. And again, a food shortage leads to no food at all. That is a famine, sisters and brothers. Not only a famine of food, but of all resources needed to run America's economy. So they're telling you everything's okay when it's really bad. They're trying to deceive you, sisters and brothers, and the news is not even reporting what's really going on. They're only telling part of the story. So famine. What will these devils do in a famine? What will they do in a famine, sisters and brothers? Let's get to the next news clip.
I'll win it. I will eat my neighbors. I'm not letting my kids die. I'm just going to be honest. My superpower's being honest. I've extrapolated this out, and I won't have to for a few years because I got food and stuff. But I'm literally looking at my neighbors now and going, I'm ready to hang them up and gut them and skin them and chop them up. And you know what? I'm ready. My daughters aren't starving to death. I'll eat my neighbors. See, my superpower is being honest. I'll eat you. I will. I'm combat model, optimal self-sufficiency. Probably the leader. The point is have you thought about that yet? Because I'm somebody that thought I could fix this, and I'm starting to think about having to eat my neighbors. You think I like sizing up my neighbor, how I'm going to haul him up by a chain and chop his up? I'll do it. My children aren't going hungry. I will eat your. That's why I want the globalists to know. I will eat your first. I will eat you. So all you spirit cookers act all tough all day. How you're doing your little satanic rituals, drinking blood and stuff. I'll drink your blood. You understand that? I will hang your up and cut you into cutlets like a filet mignon and grill you before I watch my daughters starve to death. See, now you took society and civilization as if it was some joke you can piss on all day. Do you understand? You unleash the animal. Once you do, you unleash the beast, and you're not the beast. I don't claim I'm the most tough guy around, but compared to you, I'm Godzilla on steroids.
All right, sisters and brothers, these devils are saying out their own mouths what they will do in the event of a famine. And this devil's describing how he's sizing up his neighbor right now. How he's going to haul him up, chop his body up, and eat him. And before these devils do it to each other, They're going to do it to all blacks. That's their plan. Now, they have us classified in the U.S. Constitution as 3/5 human. They have us classified as animals. Animals can be eaten. So they have us classified as their food source. And they're going to do what's already legalized before they eat each other. So we're in danger, sisters and brothers. All blacks are on the menu. Now, the fact that you're getting this information in advance, we're going to avoid that attack. That's a weapon, that cannibalism. That's what he's describing. That cannibalism weapon formed against us will not prosper either. So they're trying to deal with us shrewdly, but we're intercepting all of their shrewd plans. We know what they're going to do before they do it. We're in a boxing ring. We know the next 5, 6, 7, 8 moves that our opponent is going to make before he makes them. So we know how to dodge them. Dodging these bullets, dodging these weapons as we make our way out of America. Remember, we have a door out of America. We have a vision. We have a destination, our home, Arabia, that we are hithering to, that we will return to, that we will go there again. Hither means here. Returning to our land, Arabia, again, our heavenly home. Supreme Wisdom Lessons tell you Arabia is our heavenly home that we have preserved for ourselves, the best part of the planet Earth. So this economic collapse is for our benefit, sisters and brothers, because we have our own economics. We have our own land. We're coming out of here with great wealth. So America's economic collapse and the famine, the food shortage, that's a situation that we'll be overcoming, navigating on our way up out of here. And the book of Micah tells us exactly what they're going to do. I said, listen, you leaders of Israel, you are supposed to know right from wrong. Speaking to these devils, we're not leading ourselves. They are holding us captive right here in America, the land of our imprisonments. It says you are supposed to know right from wrong, but you are the very ones who hate good and love evil. You skin my people alive. You skin my people alive. You tear the flesh from their bones. Yes, you eat my people's flesh, strip off their skin, and break their bones. You chop them up like meat for the cooking pot. You can't make this up, sisters and brothers. That's what this devil was just describing out of his own mouth. So this is something that they already have planned to do to us. And the scriptures reveals their plans. It reveals their motivations. It reveals their fears. It reveals their attitude, their psychology. So, again, this is the future news, sisters and brothers. The scriptures is our guide. Then in the next verse, then you beg the Lord for help in times of trouble. Do you really expect him to answer? After all the evil you have done, he won't even look at you. These devils are supposed to let us go. They refuse to let us go. On top of that, they're trying to destroy us and eat us, take us out of existence completely. So, sisters and brothers, we have a door out of America's destruction. We're going to go further in the next segment to identify more things about the famine. We'll identify some scriptures that shows what our experience will be during the famine. As long as you're on the right side of this, sisters and brothers, you will be protected. So that's why we're here to reflect the light, so that you can be on the right side of this and we come out on top of it, because we will not be destroyed. We will not be taken out of existence. So this is what we're to expect very soon. This is the result of America's economic collapse. And as you can see, that they have already been planning for this. That's why they have kept us in that U.S. Constitution classified as animals, 3/5 human. So that brings this segment to a close, sisters and brothers, and I will be back with more. Assalamu alaikum.